Welcome back, guys. So this is our next tutorial for the Cypress framework creation using the best practices. So in this, basically, we will discuss the understand the test debugging concept in the Cypress, and then we will convert our framework to the page object pattern. So for the debugging purpose, till now we have opened the URL and the entering the username and the email ID here. So suppose you have make any function like login functionality or anything. For that you want some meaningful log that for the functionality is started and the function is ended. For that you can use the Cypress function like cy.log. cy.log function is available in the Cypress to log the functionality, not the console log. It's a cy.log the function. Inside this log message you can just write the message whatever you want, that using that say somebody is executing your test cases or the test suite, then you can need to know like that this functionality is completed or this functionality or this function is executed successfully. So in our case currently we are entering username and email ID, so just we can say enter username and email ID. So just control S and execute the test case. So in the Cypress log, you are able to see whatever the message that we have written as a cy.log is able to see in the Cypress log. And using that, basically, we can say that functionality is started and the test functionality is verified successfully. These kind of the log we can log using the cy.log method. Also, if you inspect the element and click on the any element and go to the console log. So in the console log also you are able to see the input regarding that CSS. So we are able to see the get commands and the what are the CSS that we have provided and the element that is matched to that particular CSS. The number element count is 1 and all the other related input under the input text. So these all the things that is required for the debugging purpose you can check in the console log as well. Just your open your debugger tool and click on the element in the console log, you are able to see all the related inputs that is required for that particular element. So you can use the cy.log method and you can use the console log as well for your debugging purpose. One more thing is also available in the Cypress. Suppose after entering the email ID or the username that something went wrong and the code is not working. So in that case, we just need to pause the execution and then we want to debug that particular scenario and then we want to continue the execution for the debugging purpose. So we can pause our execution in the Cypress using the cy.pause command. cy.pause is the method that is available in the Cypress for the debugging purpose. So we can use that method, and if we put this method and make as a control S and run the test cases, so it will pause the execution till after execution of this command only. So it executed the get command and it will pause the execution. Till now we have all the controls this URL, so we can debug our CSS and all the breaking point that is failing the test cases. And once the debug is finished, then we can resume the test case using this button. Then it will complete the execution. So that functionality basically is used for that debugging purpose only. Using the cy.pause, we can debug our execution and the pause the execution, and then we can debug the remaining flow. Once the execution is done and test case is working fine, then we can remove this code. That code is basically for debugging purpose only, not for the regular framework. So we can use the cy.log for the console logging. We can use the console log in the developer console. Also, we can use cy.pause method to pause the execution and debug the remaining flow. So these are the basically debugging functionality is available. Apart from that, screenshot is also available in the Cypress before a screenshot and after a screenshot. These are functionalities also available in the Cypress test and that we can also use as per purpose of the debugging purpose. Now move to the next topic, that is converting page object pattern for our framework. So in our test cases, basically we are using the sign up page and we are entering the username and email ID and then we are performing the operation, but we are not following page object pattern here. In the page object pattern we have to create the pages for the each and every web pages, and then we have to perform the functionality of operation on in that particular page only. So convert that page object model. For this, currently we are using the only one page, that is sign up. First we have to create a folder structure for that. And inside the integration example, we need to create a new folder. I'm naming as a page objects. Inside that we can create a pages based on the application, what are multiple pages that we are automating. Similar way, we need to create the pages under this folder. We can name anything that you want. I'm just naming page objects, and inside that we can create a page, and the page is just we are using for the sign up. So I'm just saying sign up.js. That's it. So that page is created. Now we have to define the objects inside that particular page, locators inside that particular page, and that locators we can use in our test cases. So for that, first we need to define the class. Class name is sign up, and that bracket open and close. The class is defined, and then we have to export that class. If we are not export that particular class, then we are not able to use that particular object in our test case. It's basically kind of a default constructor. So we can simply say the export default and the class name is a similar way to creating the constructor in the JavaScript. That is mandatory step. If you don't include this export dot default sign up syntax, then you will get the error like you are not exporting any constructor and you are not able to use that locator for that particular class. So now class is ready, and we need to prepare the methods for the locator. The first is the username. To create a method, give the meaningful name that you can understand in the later also. So I'm just giving get username and the open bracket. That's all. That is the method is available, and that will basically provide the locator for the username. So simply we need to type return and then copy that locator. Just copy that locator from here. Control C and this. That's all. That is done. Just we need to create, first we need to create the class, define the constructor, and then we have to create the method for it, and then we have need to define the locator for that we need to use. So for username we have just used the return keyword and the locator for that particular username. Similar way we can create another method for email ID as well, that is get email. The similar way return and then copy that locator syntax from here. This way. That's all. So now our page object model class is ready. We have created a separate class inside the page object folder, and we have defined the constructor, and we have defined both the locators that we are using in our test cases. Now we need to use this method in our test case to reduce this hard-coded locator value. For that, basically, if you have create any class in the JavaScript, then first we need to import that particular class in our test cases. Then we have to create the object for that particular class. Then only we will able to use the method. The first option is we need to import that class. So go to the test cases on the top, use the method import, and that name we can say sign up import sign up from inside the single braces we need to provide the path of that particular class. So currently we are here in the test.js, and we need to exit this signup.js. So first we need to move to the parent folder, that is example.json examples, and then we will move to the page object folder, and then we will reach to signup.js. So moving to the parent folder in JavaScript, we will use dot/slash method. So once you put the dot/slash method, you will get the parent folder, that is examples. So select examples, then make a slash, then you will get the page objects, and again slash, and then you will get sign up page. So that's the way we have successfully imported that particular class. Dot/slash means move to the parent folder, then the examples, then the page object, and then the sign up. That is the path where the sign up.js is present. Now signup.js is successfully imported in our test cases. Then we have to create an object for it, and then we will able to access it. To creating the object, we can like a const any name like sign up equal to new sign up. That's all. So object is created successfully. Now we are able to use the method that is available inside the signup.js. First method is get username and second method is get email. So I will remove this code from here. Instead of this code, we can use the object of the class that is signup dot method name that is get username, and then this remaining code is same type and we are typing the username. Similar way for the email also, we can say object of the class is sign up dot get email, and then we will type the email id. Now just save this test case and see the execution result. The same, it's open the URL, entering the username, password, and it's entered successfully Vivek, and email as a VIV123. So whatever the CSS that we are using in our test cases, that we have converted into the page object model. For that, we have created a separate page, signup.js. Inside that, we have created two methods, username and email ID, and defined the CSS here. Then in our test cases.js, we have imported that class successfully. Then we have created the object for that class, and then we are using the method get username and get email. So that is the way we can convert our test case to the page object model. Whatever the pages we are using in our web application, we need to create the web pages for JS pages for separately for that pages, and then we can define all the locators in that page on this .js page only. So it's easy to maintain. Something if the XPath or CSS got changed, then we can update in the central place only, and it will update for the whole test cases. So that's all for this lecture. In this, basically, we have understand the debugging concept using the cy.log, cy.post method, or using the console logging present in the developer console. Also, we understand the page object pattern for the framework. For that, we have created a separate class and the methods, and then we have imported that class successfully and accessing the method into our test cases. So that's all for this lecture. If you have any questions or query, you can reach out to me on the LinkedIn. My LinkedIn URL is given on the description box. So thank you. Thanks for your time.